Hi, I'm Claire. I've been coming to EBBY for about 18 months since I moved to Horfield, and I've had quite an exciting summer with God, so I'm going to try and tell some of the story really briefly. As some of you know, God has recently graciously healed me of severe gluten intolerance and fatigue. That is kind of the tip of the iceberg of a more exciting journey that I've been on with him in discovering more about who he is and how amazingly gracious and loving he is towards us. Severe gluten intolerance means that I was very, very bound in food fear. I was kind of nervous of going to social events because even the tiniest bit of cross-contamination would have me in bed sick the next day. And I also suffered from fatigue, so I struggled to do much more than work. And it, really affected my life and how I could be. So a whole chain of events that I haven't got time to go into meant that I spent the summer learning more about God and discovering truths about him that I just somehow hadn't connected with before, or had got slightly twisted and misunderstood, or just kind of religious rubbish that I'd picked up along the way. I don't even know how. But through him leading me forward and graciously revealing his truth to me, I came to understand a whole bunch of stuff that's just set me free in a way that is amazing and awesome. Although I'm kind of saying that God healed me recently, actually he healed me about 3 years ago, which was a whisper from the Spirit in a home group event at a church I was going to at the time, where I'd been working through fear and trust with him, and he said to me, "I've healed you, go for it." So I did, which was amazing, and I was full of praise and everything, but it didn't last. Somehow 3 months later, after I'd had a sickness bug, the symptoms started to come back, which really confused me and left me very disappointed with God. I didn't understand what I'd done wrong to lose it, or if he'd taken it away from me, or things that just didn't match up with who I thought God was and my experience. So I kind of put it to one side instead of taking it further, stopped eating gluten, and was, if anything, more ill than before. But what I've come to realise this summer is that God wouldn't have taken that away from me. He is good. What happened was that through my ignorance, because I didn't understand certain principles, certain laws of how the spiritual realm works, kind of think physics, not legal, I wasn't fully aware in a way that I am now of the spiritual battle that we're all engaged in as believers, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, every day, in our minds and beyond that. So what had happened is I'd left space through my ignorance for the enemy to kind of whisper lies to me, make me doubt my healing, and he duped me and stopped me receiving from God that healing and put the symptoms back on me, however you want to express that. And I was in a worse place than before. But this summer now, understanding that, how that had worked and what truths and principles I could stand on, gave me the opportunity to tell Satan, through the power of Jesus, to get out of there, and to reclaim that healing and the freedom and more that came with it. So come Q1 Tuesday evening, where I was at a point where I could stand on that, so I went and ate a panel raisin. If you're going to do it, eat something good. And was walking around the house, declaring scriptures, praying, holding up my shield of faith, telling Satan to get out of there, and ready to rebuke the symptoms, do whatever I had to do to stand on God's truth and reclaim the freedom that Christ promises us. But the symptoms never came. I was absolutely fine that day, the next day, kept eating more stuff, absolutely fine. And so, praise the Lord, I was absolutely fine, and I was released from what I'd describe as an oppression, really, because the fatigue really got me down and all the rest of it. And that had come through knowing God more, understanding his truth more, and just getting a glimpse of the depth of his amazing love for us in a way that I never had before. And being able to take that, and through his Spirit in us, his partnership with us, just take that bit further in my journey with him, and step into that. And for me, although the healing is the most obvious part, and yes, it's great to have been able to come to the Bring and Share lunches and things that I would never have done before, it's the freedom that has really given me joy and hope and transformed kind of my view of God and where I'm at the moment, and that to me is the most exciting part. So I guess what I want to say is that it's a story about God's truth, his freedom, his grace, his kindness towards us. He led me on this journey. It wasn't me, it was his partnership with us, and that he who is in us is stronger than he who is in the world, that, you know, the enemy will whisper lies, he will catch us napping in our moments of weakness, but God is stronger, God is greater, and in his graciousness he will lead us through that. And it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. So that's what I'm excited about.